Have you ever looked at a price on a big business invoice and just wondered, how did they actually get to that number? It seems so simple, right? Well, behind that number is this incredibly powerful engine that's running a company's entire sales strategy. Today, we're going to pop the hood and deconstruct that engine, using the SAP system as our guide to see how a price is really born. Seriously, think about it. You see one final price, and you assume it's just some basic math. But what's really happening is that a super sophisticated, programmable engine is firing off a whole sequence of rules. It's not a calculator, it's more like a command center for a company's entire game plan for making money. And at the very heart of this command center is something called the pricing procedure. Now, you've got to stop thinking of this as just a math tool. It's really a central control panel. It figures out the price, yeah, but it also tells the finance team where to record the revenue and tells the analytics team exactly how to report on profits. It orchestrates everything. So to really get our heads around this control panel, we're going to break it down into 4 main jobs. First, we'll look at the blueprint, how the whole thing is structured. Then we'll check out the calculator that crunches the numbers. After that, we'll explore the brain, which is where all the custom business logic lives. And finally, we'll cross the bridge that connects all this pricing stuff to the rest of the company. Okay, let's start at the very beginning with the foundation, the blueprint. These first few fields we're looking at are all about creating the recipe, They lay out the step-by-step sequence of the calculation and give each of those steps a unique name. Basically, they tell the system what to do, and just as important, when to do it. So first up is the step field. This just controls the order of operations. And here's a little pro tip. Always use gaps, like 10, 20, 30. That way, if you need to add a new rule later, you can just slot it in without having to renumber everything. Next is the counter. Think of this as a tiebreaker. It helps the system compare 2 things at the same step, like a standard price versus a special sale price, and pick the best one for the customer. And finally, you have the condition type. This field gives every single line its identity. It answers the simple question, what is this line for? Is it the base price, a customer discount, sales tax? This tells the system what it's dealing with. Now, check this out, because this is really clever. You'd think a blank field would be a mistake, right? But in this case, leaving the condition type field blank is a strategic move. You're basically telling the system, hey, hold on a sec. Add up everything we've done so far. It turns the line into a subtotal, which is absolutely critical for doing the math in the right order. All right, so we've got our blueprint. Let's move on to the next part of our control panel and see how this engine actually does the math. This section is all about controlling what the calculation is based on and defining how each number should behave. Oof, okay, this is a classic and very expensive mistake. Look closely. The tax, down on step 40, is being calculated based on step 10, which is the gross price of $100. But that totally ignores the $10 discount. The result? The customer gets overcharged, and the final price is just wrong. And all of this happens because one tiny field is pointing to the wrong step. And here's the fix. It's so simple, it's brilliant. All we do is change that from field on the tax line to point to step 30, our new subtotal. Now the system correctly calculates 10% tax on the actual net value of $90. The math is right, the final price is right, and it just perfectly shows you how precise this control panel really is. Now, beyond just the math, you can control the behavior of a line. If you mark a line as required, it's like a bouncer at a club. If the system can't find a base price, the whole process just stops. No price, no sale. Simple as that. On the other hand, the statistical flag is for numbers that are just for your own information. The best example is your internal cost for a product. You absolutely need to see it to calculate your profit margin, but you definitely don't want to charge the customer for it. This little flag lets you see the value without it ever affecting the final total. Okay, this is where things get really intelligent. This is the brain of the pricing engine, where you can inject custom if this then that logic that goes way beyond basic math. This is how a company's unique and sometimes kind of weird sales rules actually come to life in the system. The requirement field acts like a smart gatekeeper. Before the system even bothers to look for, say, a special surcharge, this field does a quick check. It asks, hey, does this sale even qualify? For example, is the customer in Europe and are they buying electronics? If the answer to that is no, it just skips the step completely. This is so important because it keeps the engine from doing millions of unnecessary calculations, which makes the whole system faster and way more efficient. And for those times when you need total control, you've got these 2 alternative fields. They're like cheat codes. The first one lets you completely rewrite the calculation formula. So instead of a simple price times quantity, you could program it to calculate your profit margin right there on the spot. The second one lets you change the basis of the calculation. A great example of this is freight. Instead of calculating a shipping fee based on the item's price, you can tell the system, nope, calculate it based on the product's weight. This kind of flexibility is just incredibly powerful. So the price has been perfectly calculated. Now what? Where does all that amazing information go? Well, this last section is all about the bridge that connects our pricing engine to the rest of the business, specifically to the accountants and the business analysts. Here's a secret that a lot of people miss. Most of the values in the pricing engine are temporary. They're just there to help calculate the final price, and then, poof, they're gone. So how do you save something important, like your cost, for a profit report? You use the subtotal field. Think of it like a data transporter. By giving a value a special tag here, you're telling the system, hey, this one's important, save it for later. That value then gets sent off to finance or sales or wherever it needs to go. Now, if there is one field that the finance department obsesses over, it's this one, the account key. This is the absolute non-negotiable bridge to the company's official financial books. It's a simple code that tells the system exactly which account in the general ledger to post a value to. Is it revenue? Is it a discount? A tax payment? This key is the traffic cop that directs every single dollar. If you get this wrong, the company's books get really messy, really fast. And here's where it all comes together in this beautiful, complex dance. Take something tricky, like a rebate. First, we mark the rebate as statistical, so it doesn't actually lower the price on the customer's bill right now. But then, behind the scenes, the account key and a special accruals key work together to perform this brilliant accounting trick. They create a perfect two-sided financial entry. The system records the future rebate expense, and at the same time, it sets aside the cash to pay for it later. It's all happening automatically and completely invisibly inside the pricing engine. So as you can see, this isn't about just memorizing what 16 different fields do. It's about understanding how they work together, like an orchestra. Each setting influences all the others, and getting just one of them wrong can send ripples through the entire company and have huge financial consequences. True mastery is all about understanding the orchestration. And that pretty much wraps up our little tour. Now that you've had a peek inside this incredibly powerful control panel, what part of your own company's pricing, or even just the prices you see every single day, do you look at in a completely new light? It's pretty amazing to think about the complex, precise machine that's running behind what looks like just another number. Thanks for joining me.